Hey, everybody, welcome to another exciting, well, maybe exciting is not the right word, but
It's always
welcome to
exciting.
welcome to another episode of Fat to Fit podcast. Today on YouTube, no longer on Twitch. We've kicked Twitch out
Trying
the
something
door
new.
and we've invited YouTube into
Well,
our homes and our
we're not going to
hearts.
kick them. We're just going to set them to the side and see how this works.
Okay, let me step that back. Maybe Twitch isn't the enemy. Maybe Twitch is just on the side for right now. But thank you for joining us. I am your host, Jay Scott. As we have,
Mute your phone.
oh my God, I just realized. Yeah, okay, I see. Oops. Sorry, guys. I had YouTube on in the background. We're getting an echo. Let's forget the last 10 seconds. I'm your host, Jay Scott. You can find me on social media at Ned Starks Ghost. Joined, as always, by my hetero life mate, Jared Shapiro. He is at Get Fit with Jared, and this is Fat to Fit. And here's what our
Woo!
graphic would be if we had a visual department. That's where the
One of these
graphic,
days.
yeah, and like the intro
One of these
song,
days.
and yeah, that's what we would have there
Yeah, one of these days.
one of these days.
I know how to do it in the software, but I only have so much time. Did you mute your phone?
I did.
Why am I getting feedback?
I don't know.
Oh, man. Sorry, folks. We're trying some new equipment here, and yeah. Let's see.
And there is wow. So this is the danger of going live. There's not much we can do about it. Are you getting that feedback through your speakers? Can you just power them off?
Bam. There we go.
Okay. How about it? Great
That was annoying.
job.
Anyway, so we're live. If you couldn't
We're live,
because that's not edited out anywhere. Yeah. So, Mr. Ned Stark's Ghost, Jay, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I can't complain about a single thing in this world. And I'm looking at our video on YouTube now, and I'm like, man, I should have put a little more effort into grooming my beard today, but that's okay because today we are talking about. So last week, a recap real quick. So last week we had a talk about like kind of an abstract topic. And, normally we come on each week and we talk about a specific thing like, rep range or protein or cardio or whatever. And, last week we really talked about like motivation and like things we want to accomplish and how to accomplish things. And we kind of hit a lot of things, but, the core idea that we touched on last week was basically like you have to kind of be in control of your own destiny. And during the week, you've been like, well, today let's talk about comparisons and how we compare ourselves to ourselves and how we should only compare ourselves to ourselves. And I think that's kind of a loaded topic because I think it's very easy to say we should only compare ourselves to ourselves, but that's not something people normally do. People live to compare themselves to others. And I think there's a lot of benefit to finding ways to compare yourself just to yourself and measuring your goals that way. But I think that's not something that's not a default setting for most people.
Yeah, I think it's something that's ingrained in us in general, not just in fitness. It's why celebrity blogs and magazines, like People, are such a big deal, is because people always want to compare their life to somebody else's, somebody who they either see as more successful or garbage human because Jersey Shore exists. Hey, I'm not wrong. I said it.
Snooki might be watching, so.
Well, she can donate whenever we set that up. But I think it's a dangerous habit to get into in general.
Absolutely.
It's even more dangerous when you're talking about fitness because everyone's
Absolutely.
body is different. You and me are both big guys, but if I were to try to compare my progress over the last few years of fitness to yours, we're two different people inside. So it's not a good comparison to make. It's just going to lead to craziness.
Exactly.
There's no way you can look as beautiful as I do.
Oh my gosh. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I kind of want to hit on some nuts and bolts ways you can compare yourself to yourself. And we'll talk about that. But before we get too deep into anything, As always, we have to read our disclaimer. Fat to Fit podcast is a podcast. It's entertainment, and we're talking about our journey of going fat to fit and what we've learned along the way in hopes that we can help you with your fitness journey. That being said, we are not clinicians. We do not take clinical care of anyone. We do not give clinical advice. And anything we say on the podcast or related outlets should be taken for entertainment purposes only. If you need help getting started on your fat to fit journey, we'd be glad to help you get started in the right direction, but we will only recommend and direct you to licensed medical professionals, and we strongly encourage you to be under the care of medical professional at all times during your fitness journey because you only get one body. Don't leave it up to chance. So that being said,
Don't compare us to doctors.
don't compare don't compare us to doctors. So I've got a little story that I can share about comparisons. So I want to, I like to preface every episode by saying, it's cliche to say everyone's different, but everyone is, and we need to always keep sight of that. So, when I like to talk about my time as when I was doing strongman, because that was a really special time for me. It's a time when I learned so much. Like I spent my whole life in the gym and training and learning to train and reading books and everything. But the 2 or 3 year period where I was in the strongman and powerlifting, I learned more then than I ever learned. And when comparisons can get dangerous is when you are trying to compare yourself to people that you don't even know. And I think ultimately that's probably going to be the idea that goes through all of this is you should not compare yourself to unknowns. And for me, when I first got into strongman, that was during the time when Eddie Hall, who was 2016 or 2017 World's Strongest Man. I'm sorry, Eddie, if you're listening. I love you, buddy. I can't remember what year it was. But that's also when he was breaking the 1,000 pound squat record. And that's when that was a huge thing because a lot of guys in strongman were going for that 1,000 pound record. Now, in the years since then, you've got armloads of people who've done 1,000 pounds. I just watched a video on Instagram. There's a lady at a competition this weekend. She deadlifted 462 pounds at 99 pounds of body weight. So
Ooh.
strength is all over the map. I wish I remembered her name, but I forgot. Maybe I'll link it later on our socials. But the point is, when I was going through that, Eddie Hall kind of became, I don't want to say an idol of mine because I think when you're in your 30s, you don't have idols anymore. But he became someone that I was paying attention to and I listened to. He gave out a lot of good advice, very positive. And I was like, okay, well, if Eddie can have 1,000 pounds, well, how high can I get? Now, Eddie's a professional strongman. He's probably juiced to the gills, even if he isn't, he's got way more money to supplements and food and training and everything else better than I have. But I had a competition coming up, which is South Carolina's Strongest Man. And the previous record for the deadlift, I want to say was like 680, 690 pounds. And I remember I was training and I was like, there's no way I can get even close to this. Because at the time, my deadlift was stuck around 600 pounds, maybe 620. And and that was me deadlifting off the floor. Now, the strongman deadlift is up in the air, generally about 18 inches. So you're picking the bar from about knee height. And that's where the strongman record was. So my thought process was if I train pulling off the floor, by default, the half rep that you do in strongman is going to be stronger anyway. So, like I said, I was getting a little over 6 off the floor. It was the best I could do, and I just hit a plateau. I didn't have time to do any better. Well, unfortunately, injuries had forced me to withdraw from the competition. But that weekend, a new record was set at 725 pounds. And I remember being absolutely furious that I missed that contest because I thought to myself, 725 was probably what I could have done. I could have that record, right? And so I got angry and I went to the gym the next week and I said I am going to outlift that record today or I'm going to die. I refuse to leave this gym until I do it. And I remember distinctly, it was a Saturday morning and my girlfriend at the time was with me and I loaded up 735 on the bar. So it was 10 pounds more than the record. And I got that one rep off. And when I got up to the top, I held it and looked around and I had a nice little crowd around me watching because it's a spectacle when you see 700 pounds load on the bar. And when I put it down, I could feel what I imagined were all of my internal organs gasping for air in my intestines and everything just revolting. Like I almost, like I almost passed out, but I did a clean rep. And why I like to share that story is because I think it's very unhealthy for you to let anger be a motivating factor. And at the time I can say that I was immature enough where I was angry at the guy that set that record because I was jealous. All right. And like Jay-Z always says, jealousy is a weak emotion. You got to overcome it. Right. And now I've reached a place of serenity in my life where I'm like, if I come close to setting records, even personal records, the competition is healthy for me because I'm not letting anger motivate what I do. Because when you let anger, jealousy, envy, and all these things motivate you, when you see people accomplishing things that you dream about, instead of being motivated by that, if you're motivated by the fact that you don't have it, that negativity is going to permeate everything you do. You're going to limit yourself because after a while, you're going to realize, hey, I can't deadlift 1,000 pounds because I'm not a professional power lifter. I'm not a professional strongman. Or, getting away from strength. If you're a long distance runner or something, maybe you can't break a certain time limit in a marathon, or maybe you can't break a certain 400-meter record or whatever, because you're just not on that level, or maybe just genetically it's impossible for you to do. You have to learn to be confident and be happy and healthy with what you can do instead of focusing on what you can't do. And that's, like I said, it's easier said than done because it's taken me years to get to that point. But I'm happy to report that's where I am now. It has been a very painful journey for me to get to a level of looking at myself in the mirror and saying I'm happy with what I see. Because my whole life I've always compared myself to everyone else. When I was a kid, like last week, you talked about when we were kids watching Lex Luger in WCW, and how he always looked with his chest and his pecs and everything. And as a kid, I'm like, who do I got to sacrifice a goat to look like that? Like, I mean, what dark ritual, and the secret is for everything, it's diet and exercise and maybe drugs, but mostly diet and exercise. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that to truly be in that elite status, you not only have to sacrifice or be willing to sacrifice everything, but you have to have a work ethic that's completely unmatched. And I think, like, for me, I learned that a little too late in life to become a superstar. If I would have been coachable as a teenager, which I absolutely was not, maybe I could have had a coach impart that wisdom on me and I could have achieved more. But I didn't, because I just compared myself to the Lex Lugers and the Hulk Hogans of the world. And instead of being motivated by what they were doing, I was just pissed off that I didn't have it. And I was a complete, like, feral child until I was in my 30s. Yeah, but you know how I was,
Yeah.
So I can say that's kind of been my curve, of maturity. It's taken me till almost 40 to be a grown up, but I'm here now, and I'm a lot better because of it.
Started from the bottom. Now you're on your way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think a good point there is it's one thing to compare yourself, and it's another thing to be motivated by someone. Um, Comparing yourself leads to things like jealousy, which is pointless because what good is you hating on someone going to bring you? When instead, if let's say you looked at Lex Luger or Hulk Hogan, it's like, what is he doing, and how can I do that? How can that motivate me?
Exactly.
Um, and at the end of the day, it's lift more in the late 80s, early 90s, take more steroids. So,
I mean, and that's, it's funny. Like, we say that kind of tongue in cheek because, and we both know a lot of people who are juiced up, and that's just par for the course in the circles we run in. And
yeah,
I mean, not to be controversial on purpose, but I'm the most pro steroid person in the world. I think people should be able to buy it over the counter, because anybody who wants to use steroids are already using them.
yeah,
And the people who aren't are people that just don't want to that bad. And I don't think that it makes you a better athlete or a worse athlete or anything, because there's nothing that replaces hard work. But we
true.
have to acknowledge every elite athlete, with few exceptions, they're taking something. So when we, and that's another thing, I guess maybe it does bear discussion with this. So and I'm not going to accuse any athletes of juicing or whatever, like, because we all know who they are, right? We don't have to talk about that. But if you're looking at someone who is like, like in the strength world, if you're looking at somebody who's able to like do like a 1,200-pound squat or just something insane, right? It's not unreasonable for you to think that one, that person may have a medical advantage that you don't have, right? And whether that's the use of illicit drugs or legal drugs prescribed by a professional and maintained by a professional,
Yeah.
you don't know that unless that person tells you. But also, a person's genetic structure, like a person's genes dictate so much, and it's kind of a cop out. It's a cop out always to say that your genes prevented you from doing something, but at the end of the day, that's really like it's a huge thing, and that's why, like last week on the show, we talked about leaning into what you're good at. Like, I am not built to be a runner, and if I try to run, my running is always going to suck. So if I decide that a runner is what I have to be, I'm not only fighting against the natural curve of being successful at being a runner, but I'm also fighting against how God designed me and my ancestors. So that's
That's
something.
funny. That's the same reason I'm not in the NBA.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, and it's crazy because we'll look at NBA players and you'll see a guy like, I don't know, like whoever's 7 foot tall, like, like, I don't know, Dikembe Mutombo or somebody famous. And they're like, oh, they're 7'2". But in addition to being 7 foot tall, I guess Dikembe is a great example. In addition to being 7 foot tall, he's also incredibly intelligent, right? Because he's a defensive master. He was a coach, right? He's charismatic. He's good looking and he's healthy. Like, he hit the genetic jackpot, and
Yeah.
then maybe not in the 7 foot tall world, but somebody like Arnold in the 6 foot tall world. Arnold naturally very broad, naturally very lean, a naturally trim waist. He was born to be a bodybuilder, and he leaned into that and became successful. So when we start comparing ourselves to superlative people, like I could look at Arnold all day and I can be like, man, I wish I had his structure, but that's impossible. His structure is his structure. That's unique. Everyone's structure is different. But I can look at Arnold's physique and I can say, what did Arnold do? Or what did Arnold present? Or what did Arnold make of himself? Like, what can I do in that same vein if that's what I want to have? And, I know you're very big on avoiding the influencers on Instagram, like everybody's a celebrity now. And the problem with that is if you've got an Arnold, for instance, and I use Arnold because he's a big hero of mine, Arnold is very open about drug use in the 70s when he was, a pro bodybuilder and getting into bodybuilding. He's very open about like just how that lifestyle was, and it's not for everyone. And
Yeah.
also, like in the late 70s, especially, bodybuilding caught lightning in a bottle because they had so many superstars come into that period that set the industry up for the success that it's had since then. It's almost like with wrestling in the late 90s, the Attitude Era, that set the entertainment industry on its ear. So like you can't compare yourself to not only superlative people, but superlative people who are at like the zenith of an industry. You can't plan to catch lightning in a bottle. You just have to be prepared when it strikes. And that's the key, is being prepared for any opportunity that comes along and not getting discouraged when it's taken long for you to get there.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the influences out there, which we'll get to later. I don't want to get onto that just yet. That's what they did. They, I don't think Starbucks needs you.
No, I think they're fine without me.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. But yeah, they a lot of times they are in the right place at the right time. They grab that lightning bolt and they're riding it as long as they can. But again, we'll go over them later. Let's talk about how do you compare yourself to yourself. And it goes back to something we say a lot: journal, track.
Yes.
For you, you can talk more about this with weightlifting. If you lift, 600 pounds one day, how do you know you improve from that? How do you know you're doing better than a month ago?
I'm gonna give you 2 points, and I'm gonna throw one back to you.
Hey, basketball. Yes.
So, it's not just weightlifting; it's life. Because so anyway, if you watch the show, we talk about DDPY a lot. Don't call it yoga. And shout out to Diamond Dallas Page. And the thing that has endeared me to DDPY is that I see how much easier I move through life now, having been on it, right? And even though I'm like the worst backsliding DDPY convert in the world, um, when we say like how do we compare ourselves, so journaling is always going to be the thing, and not just journaling your workouts but journaling your life, right? And I'm going to segue back to that in a second, but I think about one moment with DDP yoga that I had that I use as a reference point. So when we started DDP, don't call it yoga, I know, sorry Paige, when we started doing DDPY back in
I mean, it's on the
2018.
bottle. You can only say
Yeah, I
so.
mean, come on, Paige. What do you want from us, buddy? Um, when we started it back in the day, I mean, we were both like terrible, not good. We were
Yeah,
not good at it at
I
all.
had no flexibility.
Yeah, and neither did I. And I thought that the flexibility training I had been doing for years in wrestling was a lot, but it wasn't enough. And being removed from the sport for a couple of years too, I just, I wasn't in the shape that I thought I was in. And long story short, I remember the day when I was doing one of the movements where I'm standing on one leg and I'm like got my arm out and then I got my other leg bent behind me and I reached down and I was able to touch my foot and then extend this arm all the way up, and I felt like every bone in my back and in my hip crack all at once. And I was like, I don't think I've ever been in this position in my life. And now that's a position that I can just get in with ease. Like it's not even like I've been taking some improv classes, and I was doing a skit the other night where my foot was tangled up in something, and I'm like, oh, this is easy for me to do. I can just bend down and do my DDP yoga pose and stretch all the way out like I'm gonna fall, but not fall. And I little things like that I find every now and then in life where I'm just like, oh, I didn't think I could bend that way. Oh, I didn't think that I could walk that far. Oh, I didn't think I could jump that high or whatever. And I find that those little victories are almost like they're irreplaceable, because if you're in public, especially if you're with someone or you're with a group or whatever the case may be, and you find yourself able to exceed your limits effortlessly, that not only makes you feel good about yourself, but it builds your confidence tremendously, because that's how you have progress and other people can see it. So I say that because I think that we need to always keep in mind that fitness and training or strength, whatever you're going for, is not just about the movement you do, but how does it impact your life? And yes, I can go to the gym. So I don't really deadlift or squat anymore because my knee is just too messed up. But a few weeks ago I went in and deadlifted, and probably the first time I've deadlifted honestly in probably a year. And I was able to pick up 495, but I couldn't finish the rep. Like I got maybe half the way up. But even just getting it off the ground, to me, I was like, I haven't done this in forever. And I was able to pick 500 pounds up off the ground, and yeah, a good part of that is my genetics, but also a good part of that is that over the years I've built up my strength, and that's just the way I am. I've maintained that. And so I went through looking some of my old journals, and I was like, well, even when I was deadlifting, I haven't deadlifted 500 pounds in a very long time. So, I felt even more proud of myself then, because even the last deadlift cycle I did, I didn't go that high. So, I guess it's a roundabout way of saying, like, you have to one, have a vision of what you want to do. You can't just train. You can't just die.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm losing weight. I'm getting in better shape. No, you're not. You're probably spinning your wheels, because once you say like, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds, then as each pound ticks off, like that's a victory. And the more victories you
Yeah.
have, the more you're going to get addicted to winning. You're going to get addicted to that feeling, instead of saying, well, I can't celebrate until I lose all 20. No, you get to celebrate 20 times on the way down, and I think that's what people overlook is like, these social media influencers and a lot of celebrities and athletes, they won the genetic lottery, or they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They don't have to work 40 hours a week and a part-time job to pay the mortgage. So you can't compare your efforts to their efforts. You only need to focus on yourself and your goals. If there's anything out there that you're wanting to achieve, big or small, it doesn't matter. You have to set your vision on it. And unfortunately in society today, especially for those of us, under the age of 40, the economy is like such a struggle. So, we're all tired. We're all tired and we're all beat up and we're all just a little hopeless. So I always like to tell people, like, you know what, instead of feeling bad about things that you can't buy a house or you can't retire early or whatever, take that energy, right? Negative as it may be, put it to the side and then channel that when you get into the gym.
Yeah.
Because if you just let that cloud the front of your brain, you're only going to make your situation worse. You got to move that negativity to the side. If the bad things happen, move it to the side, deal with it after you train.
Focus on what you can actually affect.
Exactly. Like, what can you affect? And yeah, and that's where when I get so, like, I don't know, I get fired up when I talk about that, because I know for me, I think about how many opportunities I lost, when I was younger, just because I had such a bad temper. Like, I couldn't ever just allow myself to just go with the flow or make peace with a situation. I always had to prod and make things difficult. And not only did I make life difficult for others, I made it difficult for myself, because I'm constantly focused on what I don't have instead of what I do have. And for some people, they do get obsessed with a situation because, well, I don't have money, so I've got to work harder. Okay, well, if that's your motivation to do better, let your motivation be that you want to enhance your life or enhance your family's life, or provide for them. But if you just focus on I don't have enough, you're never going to have enough. If you treat money, weight loss, sex, drugs, anything, if you treat everything from a less than perspective, you're never going to be satisfied, because it will always be less than.
Exactly. And I think another important thing with tracking your progress is at some point you're going to hit some kind of plateau.
Yep.
For me, trying to lose weight, I easily get stuck. After losing 10, 20 pounds, I'll get stuck for a while. Like right now, I'm stuck in the 250s.
And that's why you shaved your beard, because you could lose half a pound that way.
That was 5 pounds gone right there. The thing that helped me in the past, I'd just be like, man, I'm stuck. I'm just never going to lose any weight. I'd give up and I'd get fat again. But this is not the Fat to Fat podcast, the Fat to Fit podcast. Is that a different Starbucks mug?
That's my water, baby.
Anyways.
Many.
One of the things that helps me get through those plateaus is I look at the other things I'm journaling. Progress pictures, very important. Pick a pose, take a picture from the front, from the side. I just want to stand there. Great. Randy Orton, even better. Front, side. Even if you're staying around the same weight, if that's your main goal, you'll see over time, even at that same weight, you'll see changes that you're looking for. Because as you're losing fat, you're building muscle. But when you just look at the scale, you're not always thinking that. The other thing, since doing DDP yoga, or DDPY, if you don't want to call it yoga, just walking around, bending over to tie your shoe, things like that. I remember there were aches and pains in my back that aren't there anymore. So even though I haven't gotten out of the 250s in 2 months, there are other things that I can use to see that I'm still progressing. Getting back into jiu-jitsu. I would not have been able to do that 2 years ago. Those are some of the little things. So if you are stuck in some kind of plateau, look at your journals. Track more than one thing.
You know what I did? I'll be honest, I haven't weighed myself, I think, since March, and I haven't measured myself since April. So both those things are overdue for me now in June as we go into July. But I could feel that I wasn't, when I say I could feel that I wasn't losing, I guess the best way I can say is I felt kind of flat, right? A couple weeks ago. And I knew I was going out of town to work for a week anyway. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just do, 1 or 2 workouts the week before, take my week off out of town. And when I come home, I'm going to take a week off to recuperate and get everything in order. And I'm not even going to worry about going to the gym. I'm going to eat like I normally eat. I'm not going to go crazy. It's not going to be a cheat 2 weeks, but I'm just going to take 2 weeks away from everything. I'm not going to look at any bodybuilding videos. I'm not going to watch any podcasts. I'm just going to not even think about training. Right. And so while I was out of town, I walked around the city and I did all this stuff. And I mean, I logged like I think like 7 or 8 miles on foot, during those couple days, which for me is a lot. And I had no issues, no knee pain, no back pain, nothing. And I felt great. And I felt very healthy. And I was like, this break from the gym is exactly what I needed. Um, and so then I get back into the gym. This is 2 weeks ago now. And the first week I was back in, I just did a little baby workout so I wouldn't, get too sore. And then the other day, I don't know if you saw my post or not on Facebook or Instagram, but it was last Monday. Actually, yeah, it was last Monday. And well, actually, wait, what day is today? Is today Thursday?
I think it's Thursday.
Yeah, so that was
Internet is today Thursday.
so that was 3 days ago. Yeah, so 3 days ago when I was at the gym, shout out to Crunch Fitness. I saw like I was like, this is my chest day, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna like I said like I've had my break. I feel great. So when I go back into the gym, everybody is competition now. Like and I say that not in a adversarial way, but like for me in my mind, if I see somebody over there like with military press doing 150, well, if I'm doing military press that day, I got to do 155. Like everybody is competition. I'm absorbing everybody's energy, right? And so when I'm in there, I'm on an incline bench, and the guy beside me is on the flat bench, and he was flat bench. He had 315. So I'm like, I bet I could incline 315. I don't know if I've ever inclined 315 in my life. I honestly don't know if I ever had or not. I mean, I'm sure I have at some point, but like I've never tried to like really push the weight on the incline bench because that's not what it's for me. And I got up there, and when I got to 315, I got one rep, then I got a half a rep, and I got stuck. And that guy actually came over and helped me get the bar back up. And I was like, man, I've been out of the gym for 2 weeks, right? I haven't, I haven't tried to stay tight. And even before, the couple weeks leading up to my break, my strength had really been waning. I was like, I was going through the motions. I had personal stuff and work stuff. I just wasn't really crushing it at all. And now I come in and do, if not the most weight I've ever done on that lift, certainly the most weight I've done in years on that lift. And so it actually like really stoked a lot of fire within me, because I thought to myself, if that's what my best is, and to be fair, I got one rep and then I got half a rep, so we can say 315 is my ceiling for the incline bench, right? If that's my best, and that's maybe 50, 60 pounds more than I thought I could even do, what else am I holding myself back on? And so I start thumbing through my diary, because I got all my workouts for the last probably 10 years on notes on my iPhone. And I'm going through and I'm looking at some of the weights, and I'm like, I can see some peaks and valleys, but I'm like, I'm not seeing Mount Everest as much as I'd like. I'm not seeing like, peak valley, peak valley. Oh, personal best, personal best. I'm seeing a lot of treading water. And I'm thinking that, maybe my problem is that as much as I've been able to mature and grow and get out of my own head, I don't think that I have been the other side of comparing yourself. I don't think that I've been holding myself accountable to myself as much as I would like to have been, because I haven't grown as much in terms of strength as I probably could. Like, just that one lift made me think like, well, there's probably 5 or 6 other lifts I could crush right now if I just put my mind to it. And that's what I feel like I have an obligation to do that now. Like I feel very motivated because of that. And it has nothing to do with World's Strongest Man, which is going on right now. Shout out to all the guys. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with like anything that I see in the media, other than like I'm glad for that and I'm entertained by it, but it's not making me feel less than. I feel like I can just do more, and I can do more because I know I can. And the proof is the fact that I haven't yet. I know it sounds kind of silly, but like that's how I feel. Like World's Strongest Man's going on this week. And normally when that happens, I think about, oh man, all the contests I missed, or all the lifts I missed, everything else. But instead I was watching it today on Instagram, and I'm like, just wish I was there helping out, like wish I was there hanging out with the guys. And it just is such a positive emotion. And I hate that I'm 40, almost 40 years old before I could have an adult thought. But like every year has always been, me kicking rocks angry. And now this year I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm going to tribute to those guys by going out and doing the best that I can do.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the more positive emotion to look at that with. But since you mentioned trying to break some of that treading water, I saw on Instagram, if you really want to up your game in the gym, you need to get the newest flavor of Bang Energy.
Oh no, not the Bang.
Yes, that's right.
I know that you have been chomping at the bit to rail on social media influencers. Like Jared doesn't get excited about much, but like every episode like that we've done or just preparing for each episode, when I mention social media influencers, he's like, no, we save that. That's special. So
That needs an episode. So social media is a dumpster fire, and it's one of the greatest things that humanity has created.
that's better.
Yes. So how can it be both things at once? It's amazing. Well, it's neutral, just like all technology. What you see in it is what you get out of it. So me personally, I like going in. I like putting positive posts out there, occasionally snarky posts, occasionally complaining to corporate America, but customer service stuff. But for the most part, positive posts. I don't like the attacks that happen on social media. I don't like the ignorant sounding comments people make on social media. So I just try to scroll past those and avoid those. But one of the things I realized when I started getting into trying to spread a love of fitness is there's a lot of people that are out there that want to make money off fitness, but not actually helping you. Instead, they're trying to push product, usually not their own. Usually it's some other company like Bang Energy. I like Bang Energy, but I know that it's not going to make me lift 600 pounds in it from a squat. The thing that you have to keep in mind, and this comes back to comparisons, when you see the people pushing those products, they didn't use those products to get where they are. Most of the time, they did put in hard work.
Oh man, like it's just that's just an uncomfortable, or I guess I'll quote Al Gore. That's an inconvenient truth. Like,
yes,
because and so let's just take a quick pause right there, because it's a conundrum, like because it's like, okay, you until you get famous, no one gives you anything, and then once you get famous, everybody wants to give you stuff so you can influence other people to buy it, right? And you're exactly right. Like even on the small scale, like I mean, because let's face it, strongman and powerlifting is on the bottom end of like entertainment scale, but like even that, like once guys start winning titles and setting records and stuff, they get sponsors out the wazoo. And it's like, man, I know you couldn't afford that. Like, I know you couldn't afford that until you won this contest. And
that $600 worth of workout gear.
exactly, yeah, like no amateur strongman has a $200 gear bag until they've done a couple competitions, because they don't know what they need yet. Like they don't know what they need to kit themselves with. Every contest is going to be different. Like, and so when you see guys like, I couldn't go anywhere without my, premium gear. And it's like, dude, you probably had like an army duffel bag, or just like a regular gym bag like everyone else. And that's where I get stressed with influencers, because there are so many positive people out there that they have to peddle things because that's their livelihood. And I hate to come off like we're painting everybody with the ugly stick, because we're not, but like it's difficult for you to like vet like who's who sometimes.
So there are some people out there that are pushing product that is helpful. Friend of the show, Jared Fritz. Follow him on Instagram and other social media. You'll see that he does talk about his Advocare a lot, which you've used, and I've heard good things.
I use a lot of Advocare products.
And along with that, he also sends out good social messages. I've never seen him make a post that says something like, if you want to up your game in the gym, this is what you need.
and you never will. And that's why. So like, and I'm not going to shill for Advocare because they don't pay me. But that's kind of the thing. Advocare doesn't pay anyone, and
Yeah.
Jared's one of my best friends. So like we spent a lot of time talking about Advocare because when he was still kind of new to me, I'm like, I don't want that pyramid scheme crap. And then like once he broke down how they work and like what their corporate motto is and that kind of thing, like I mean, yeah, it's his job. He sells it and he makes money off of it. But they don't pay celebrities to like push their stuff. They don't just get any geek off the street to be an ambassador, and the products they make are really good, and the products they make are like true label certified. You get what's on the label, which is a huge problem in the supplement industry. So like with Advocare, like Jared pushes it, but he pushes it because he believes in it. Now the other side of the coin, if you don't know Jared, how would you know that?
Yeah.
You just, oh, this guy looks honest, he's got a ponytail, like let me
Ponytails are
order.
cool.
Yeah, let me order some pills from him. Like if you don't know, you don't know. So you have to spend some time vetting these people.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jared, I mean, we know him. But if you don't, going in, he's got his social media, he's got websites you can see the certifications, you can see he's legitimate, he knows what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Um, a lot of times you go in, and I mean, I've got one training certification, it's DDP yoga. You'll see, yeah, right.
DDP? No, 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 sir.
Oh, I'm
DDPY.
sorry,
Thank you.
DDPY. DDPY
Don't call it
works.
yoga.
Anyways,
For
that's what the
those who don't
certificate
know, like
says.
that's a running joke. So I guess Paige doesn't want to call it yoga anymore, so he just says you have to call it DDPY. But we all know it's yoga. So
The brand name is still DDP Yoga. It's
yeah.
at DDP Yoga. Anyways,
Anyway,
until they change that, I'm going to keep referring to it as they have it. Plus, it's a better hashtag. But when you look at a lot of these people that'll come in with like a basic personal trainer certification and nothing else behind that,
yeah,
and their entire social media feed is them shilling this one product. If you go down far enough, they may be shilling one other product that they were shilling before that current product. Those are the things you kind of have to watch for with these people, and do research. Go beyond that product's page. If it's something you're curious about, um, an influencer, if you send them a message, is probably not going to reply. Or if they do, they're like, yeah, try the product. Here's my discount code. Um, if it's someone that really cares about the product, like Jared, and you ask them about the product, they will probably give you an honest answer back and not just try to give you a discount code.
I agree.
Which is how they get paid.
And that's the thing. Like I follow a lot of fitness accounts on Instagram, mostly because I like pretty women.
Good reason.
But yeah, and I'll be honest about that. Like my Instagram feed is full of beautiful places and women and things and cats. But
motivation.
So like, I'll call one person out in particular. Very famous influencer. I've mentioned her before. She goes by the name Meg Squats. And by the time you're hearing this, she might be on hiatus because she's like 9 months pregnant, about to have a baby. So congratulations to her and her family. Um, I started following her a couple years ago, just like, oh, she's a hot chick. Of course I'm going to follow her, right? And like she's doing all this workout stuff, and I never really paid attention to her because in my mind, my mind then being the meathead, I'm like, she's just a girl. She doesn't know what she's doing, right? Because if you look at her, she's not Dana Lynn Bailey. She's not Yaxenia Orican or like any of those like big name fitness. Like she doesn't look like that. She looks like a regular person, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what you look for really when you're like, I'm going to be influenced.
Yeah.
I started following her and actually paying attention to her posts and interacting with her a few times on Instagram. She's a terribly nice lady. And not only has over the past couple of years, especially, she's grown her brand tremendously by being a savvy influencer, but she's also gotten multiple certifications along the way. And she's open about that. Like I've seen her comment and post where people ask questions and she's like, that's not my specialty, so I can't help you with that, and then she'll post like, here's what I'm studying, here's what my certifications are, here's my educational background. And like when she got pregnant, she became certified for like exercising while pregnant. I'm not sure what the term is for that, but like she's someone who I would say she might not be the kind of influencer that I as a strength athlete need, But if I ever meet a female, especially, who is like, oh, what do I, I don't know what to do. I'm like, follow Meg. Go to her website. Everything is there. She's got intro programs for people who don't know what they're doing. She's got videos at the wazoo. Like, there's everything you need to learn about working out, especially if you're a woman. She's great. Another one I want to give a shout out to is a mini beast, Carrie Bowlby. She has built a gigantic fitness empire off of selling fitness apparel for the most part, but she does personal coaching and everything. And she is probably the most down to earth person in the world. And her workout programs are like scalable for men and women of all experience levels, whatever. And I'm not trying to sell for her, but like, she's another one that I followed over the years, and I've seen her develop. And more so than watching them develop, I've seen how they interact with other fans. I see how they interact with people asking questions. I see the information that they put out there, and I'm like, I don't even have to think about it. I could recommend either of those influencers to anyone because I know that they're legit. On the other side of that, I follow probably 10 or 15 accounts, and I won't name because we don't do negativity here,
Correct.
but there's, one in particular where like you can tell when it's the paid post because that's got the filter on it. It's got the border on it. It's got the logo in the corner, and it's like, okay, that, she's going to work because she's got to sell this tanning cream that she's probably never used, and then people ask questions about it. They delete the questions. They lock the post for comments, and what you're getting. Like, this is a person just shilling something. This is no different
Yes.
than somebody drinking a Coke in the post game conference, like
And
that's nothing.
the legal rules say that they're supposed to disclose if it's a paid promotion, but
Mm-hmm.
there are ways to skirt around that. And a lot of times there's just not a clear paid promotion tag. So
Exactly.
you got to know the signs to look for.
Yep.
And yeah, I think we covered most of the good ones to start with. So
Yeah, and like
um,
like for instance, on my Instagram feed, I have, which I'm trying to really build up my Instagram this year. I have one paid post for this year, and if you look through my feed, you'll instantly know the paid post because it's got the filter, it's got the logo, it's got the hey guys for a limited time, blah blah blah. But then I also, hey, this is a paid post. Please visit them, so I'll get money, and no one did, but that's fine. Um, but there's two other companies that have reached out to me this year about doing paid posts for them, because that's a big business in social media. Like, I won't name either company because I haven't decided if that's what I want to do in my life yet. But one company makes like really edgy jewelry, and they like people to wear their jewelry in the gym. Like, that's kind of their thing, like Viking stuff or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's totally me. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to, like, because I know I'm not going to wear a ring to the gym. And I
yeah,
feel like if I take a picture of myself holding the bar and I got a big, like, rings on, that's not genuine. And that's not how I
no,
operate. So I have that because I do have a very strong moral fiber when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm never going to portray myself as something I'm not. Maybe that's why I'm not famous. But, I that's where I go back and forth about it because to me, if someone like listened to this show and they said, hey man, I took your advice and it screwed me up, that would crush me. Like, I always want to make people better. I want people to be stronger. Like, I'd love nothing more than when I go to the gym and it's packed full of people because everybody in there is bettering themselves. That's the world I want to live in. So if I led somebody astray, I would feel horrible. And I know these social media influencers, the majority of them, they could not care less. They could not care. Please buy the cream. Please buy the meal kits or whatever. That's all they care about.
I mean, how much can you care about one of your followers if you have 300,000?
But then, you know what, man? Like, and when we talk about people being superlative, it's not just physical, but mental and emotional stuff too. Like, CT Fletcher, my guy. Everybody knows who CT Fletcher is. CT Fletcher's got like 2.5 million followers on Instagram, and CT Fletcher has taken the time to reach out to me before, like when I've commented on things. And I see, if you follow CT Fletcher on Twitter or Instagram, you see him commenting, answering people's questions, cross posting stuff. Um, and he's not getting paid for that.
Yeah,
That's just him. That, I mean, is
that's
he
building his
building?
brand.
He's building his brand for sure, but also like you're talking to a man talking to a man. Like it's a genuine connection that he's trying to build there, and I would say CT Fletcher is one. One of my heroes. I mentioned Eddie Hall before. I've talked to Eddie on Facebook a couple times. Super nice guy. I mean, it's not like we're friends, right? Because we're not.
Yeah.
But like he's taken the time to respond to my comments, and it's like he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to respond to anyone. So like that goes a long way with me because it tells me that's the kind of person I'm dealing with, is someone who is concerned, at least in that moment, about making a connection. And if you're gonna put your health in someone else's hands, even just the tiny bit, make sure it's someone that at least there's at least pretending to have an interest, because we never know what people's real intentions are, but like, just those little things mean so much, especially if you're new to what's going on. You can't just leave it up to what you see on the screen. You have to go deeper than that.
Yeah. Well, this is definitely a topic that we can go on about, and we may go on to another episode one of these
Yeah,
days.
we're gonna have to finish this up next week. I'm looking at the
Yeah,
clock.
to bring it full circle, and the reason I
Sure.
wanted to talk about this here, when you see these people that are hawking energy drinks and other supplements at you, all you're seeing is that snapshot or their 30-second video. You're not seeing what else they're doing. And I
Oh
can
my goodness,
guarantee
yes.
you there's a lot of work going into it besides that product they're trying to sell. So if you want to be influenced by them, get influenced by the other stuff they're doing, how they got the muscles,
Yeah. So
or they
anybody,
lost that
just
weight.
a real quick recommendation for anyone who is workout minded, regardless of what you do. You're already here on YouTube. When you get done listening to us, type in Kai Greene, a day in the life. Kai Greene, Kai, day in the life. So Kai Greene, for those who don't know, is a very famous world champion bodybuilder, and he released a series of documentaries while he was on the rise, where he really wanted to demystify what it was like being a pro bodybuilder, and he wanted to show people, because he ran into it when he was on the come up. A lot of people wanting coaching advice, right? And he's like, I can't coach you because you're not ready to be coached. And they're like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, because you're not meal prepping for 7 days. You're not doing 2 hours of cardio. You're not going to posing class. You're not doing all these other things. And so Kai Greene, a day in the life, I think it's like a 3 or 4 part documentary on YouTube where it goes through like what a week in his life is like and all that he has to go through. And it's not glamorous. Now to be fair, not glamorous, but he's still in the, at that point, at least in the high 6 digits. So, he's comfortable than most of us, but no matter how much money you have, no matter what drugs you take, no matter what gear you have, sponsorships, like nothing replaces hard work. Nothing replaces tenacity, and nothing replaces the vision that you build for yourself for the goals that you want to achieve. So you have to be encouraged somehow, and we just don't want you to put your faith in the wrong person that's going to take you away from where you should be going. But Kai Greene, a
And
day in the life, I recommend it for everybody. It will really make you think about what people really have to do to be in the top 1%.
and if you really want to see a good laugh, influencing at its finest, I always love after a big UFC main event, the first thing you see is that guy running in with that monster can, puts it right in the winner's hands, cracks it open so they don't have to, and they just kind of hold it awkwardly the whole time because you know that the first thing they're going to that they want is not a Monster Energy drink.
Exactly. Like at that moment, a Monster Energy drink might kill them. Like it's the worst. But I guess
But every time, every
Aquafina doesn't
time,
want to sponsor them. They can't hand them a big Dasani. Like it's
yeah,
uh
that's the influencer mindset at its
yeah,
most visible, I think.
absolutely
Um,
shameless.
so always gives me a good laugh. If you're Brock Lesnar, though, sometimes you want a was it Miller Lite?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it for this week. Any final thoughts to take us out?
We talked a lot about that. I think maybe we should have a part two about comparisons and maybe get a little more granular with it. Because I kind of wanted to also talk about programming and how programming comes into this and setting realistic goals. So I'd like to revisit that in the future. But in the meantime, I encourage everybody to watch Kai Greene, a day in the life. And just go through your social media, scrub it. Scrub your negativity off. Get your
Absolutely.
negativity off social media, and make, like you do a great job, Jared, of documenting your progress through social media, so it's a perpetual record. Maybe that's how you can start documenting your fat to fit journey.
Exactly. And feel free to leave a comment. I'll see it. Shoot us a tweet. Find us on Instagram. Handle's the same. Get Fit with Jared. Still can't reach through the screen. One of these days. Ned Stark's Ghost. Um, reach out to us. If you want to, if there's a topic you want to hear us talk about, let us know. And I think that'll do it for this week. We'll see you back again next week. A little less fat and a little more fit.